Thanks for checking out this movie review video. This is for the 2024 film Booger, and this is a horror comedy. Although I do have to say that the comedy is very light. You will find a few things kind of amusing, a little bit like a charming-ish comedy, but nothing's going to make you laugh out loud, most likely. But, you know, kind of nice comedic aspects to it. Anyway, this one is written and directed by Mary Dauterman, and I got it on Fandango at home rental for $5.29, and that is with tax. I did the HDX version instead of the SD, so it's like $1 more. So, you know, worth it. But anyway, synopsis. So this is about a woman who loses her roommate and best friend. She has like a bicycling accident, and she ends up dying very unexpectedly, obviously. And they had this cat that they had rescued together who just kind of showed up at their apartment named Booger. And the cat ends up biting the main character and escaping as she's kind of grieving the loss of her best friend. And then she starts to become very fixated on trying to find Booger, and that kind of leads her down this path of, you know, neglecting a lot of other things in her life and focusing so much on that kind of, you know, this whole thing about like when you're grieving with something, trying to find something to kind of throw yourself into, plus the connection of Booger to her best friend. And there's a horror element to it, but there's also comedy to it. So horror comedy. But the horror aspects of it kind of light, in my opinion, but they do in a very low budget independent way. They do some decent kind of gross out gags within the film with the horror elements to it. So I do appreciate those, especially when you watch this film and you are fully aware. You're just like, yes, this is a very low budget independent film, so I need to temper expectations as far as what the practical effects are going to be, as far as what the acting is going to be, as far as how it's going to look, things like that. Because to me, this kind of feels like it's like a step above a film student project, basically. That's the look and feel that I get from it, at least. So, anyway, going to get into some of my notes from watching the film. They cover the backstory of what's happened and what the main character is going through very quickly, which usually is very good. It's usually a very good thing to kind of real quickly just kind of give some backstory that's needed so that, you know, the audience feels like they're caught up to where they need to start with the story, and they kind of know who this character is, they know what they've been through, they know what they're currently going through, and they do that. But with this film, I think it has a lot of moments where it kind of stagnates and kind of seems like they didn't really know where to go and what to do as far as some of the scenes go, especially later on in the film. So I do think that kind of showing a little bit more and going slower with that backstory in the beginning actually could have been a better use of the runtime than some of the scenes that we do end up getting. And the film isn't long. It's an hour and 18 minutes with credits. So it feels longer than it is. Unfortunately, it does feel more like an hour and a half-ish. Which obviously, you know, if it's a shorter film, it really is not great if it's feeling longer, but it just kind of does. Sorry, I just looked over my cat's over there drinking some water. So appropriate that she shows up for this, one of my cats. But the acting in it is about what you would expect for a low-budget independent film. So again, adjust expectations if you are going to watch this film. You're not getting a big-budget film. Therefore, people weren't paid a whole lot, if they were even paid at all, for their roles in this film. There's some acting that's pretty shaky. There's some acting that's pretty solid. So it's a mixed bag. I think the main character does a pretty good job for the most part. She is able to carry the film, which is exactly what's needed because it's primarily focused on this person. And there really isn't a whole lot of camera time for other characters, honestly. The cinematography is solid, but there are some super weird, like, super close shots, including of, like, faces and, like, cat fur and, you know, stuff like that, like, I understand why they're kind of going for it, because it does give you this kind of, like, uncomfortable, something's off, weird type feeling, so I understand the point of it, but it is, like, a little off-putting, it is a little annoying, and I was just kind of like, could have been done a little bit differently, in my opinion, but I get the point of it. I understand what they were going for. The score is pretty minimalist and quite moody. I did like the score, especially when, again, you're thinking about low budget independent filmmaking. I think that was pretty well handled. The composition of it is quite interesting. I love kind of more minimalist type scores for films. Like, the less grandiose, the better, in my opinion. And it's not used ridiculously. You know, at no point is the score screaming at you to try to like grab you by the hand and lead you as to how you should be feeling it during any given scene. And also, like I said, the composition feels very moody, so it's very good at kind of matching up with the main character's feelings at the time. So again, score composition quite good. They work in some phone videos, which makes it feel like a little bit found footagey at times. Uh, I'm I'm pretty surprised that I haven't seen more films do this. Honestly, it feels very forward thinking in a sense because, like I said, I haven't seen it in many other films. So they literally are like playing videos off of phones, and they're doing it like in that small rectangular screen size with a bunch of black on the outside of it. So it's a good kind of like POV thing of like you are seeing kind of from the main character's eyes watching these videos. So I like that aspect of it. The movie does move pretty slow. I already kind of talked about this a little bit. The pacing is not great on this one, unfortunately. Wish it was a lot better. And again, for like an hour and 18-minute film to not have great pacing kind of is an issue. Again, there is some humor, but it is pretty low key. They don't go hard on the humor. They don't want you to like be laughing a ton, and I get why, because there's like a very kind of heartfelt, moody drama aspect to the film as well. And for that reason, you don't want to ruin that feeling with comedic elements to it. So it's a delicate dance. It's very obvious early on what's happening with this film, but it does unfold like it's remains some sort of mystery. So I think that was kind of not handled the best in my opinion. If things seem like they're kind of being guarded and it's being presented like, oh, wait till you see what happens next. Oh, you won't believe when the big thing is revealed. Like, it plays out like that, but from the get-go, you pretty much know what's going to happen. And it's very easy for everyone to pick up on that. So it's just kind of this thing where, like, the filmmaker seems to believe. I won't, make assumptions, but it plays like the filmmaker seems to believe that their script is a lot more clever than it actually is. So, yeah. With something like this, less is more. Again, runtime wise, less is more. I think this would have been actually very good as a short film. I think this could be a phenomenal short film. And who knows, maybe it did start that way. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, less is more with that. Also, there's some repetitive scenes that end up going on with this film. So again, less is more, cut it down. It's an okay concept, but it's too slow and has very one-dimensional characters for the most part. There's a little bit of dimension to the main character, but I wish that we had gotten more about that person in general. Kind of all you're getting is just that situation, and I kind of wanted to know the character a little bit more. Going back to the whole thing about the setup being so quick, maybe that would have been a better use of time to kind of get you more close to the main character, because I didn't really feel close to the main character. You just understand what she's dealing with, but you don't feel close with her in particular. Like, I didn't really feel like I knew the character all that well. I just knew what they were going through. But then again, maybe that was an intentional choice because they wanted the film to be like, this is what everyone kind of goes through in a way. This is what everyone feels because grief is heavily involved with it. This film is about grief and how it consumes you, leading to potential deterioration in your life. That's a mental deterioration. That's also a, actual deterioration of your life around you because things end up not getting done that maybe need to get done, or you're paying attention to something else. Like, your mind is just not into things. And I know this perfectly because just earlier this year I went through very, very heavy grief. Still have moments of it, but for the most part doing a lot better. But I get it. So, but anyway. Overall, out of 5 stars, half stars in play, I'm going to give this a 2-star rating. Would have liked to see a bit more from it, but at the same time, like, it is, low budget independent film, so it is what it is. But would love to hear your thoughts on it. If you've seen it, go ahead and put it in the comments. Do me a favor though, hit subscribe to my channel if you are interested in any sort of membership or doing a super thanks or whatever. You can check the link in the description for membership stuff. Thumbs up on the video would help me out with that YouTube algorithm, and hitting notification bell button would make sure that you know when I'm putting up new videos. But regardless, thank you so much for taking your time to watch this, and until next time, keep it brutal.